Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to present the results of the research about financial self-exclusion. Why do households give up activity on the market of financial services and products? My name is Agnieszka STRZELECKA and I represent Koszalin University of Technology, Faculty of Economics, Department of Finance. Financial exclusion is a relatively new concept, and research in this field began in the 1990s. A significant barrier to conducting research in this area is the lack of a clear definition of financial exclusion, which causes difficulties in determining the scale of this phenomenon and defining groups particularly exposed to the risk of financial exclusion. According to the definition proposed by the European Commission, financial exclusion means the process in which the population faces problems in accessing and/or being able to use financial services and products offered on the mainstream market that are appropriate to their needs and enable them to lead a normal life in the society. This approach to the issue of financial exclusion takes into account access to a wide range of banking services, access to safe and profitable forms of saving, and access to insurance products. Research on this issue focused largely on the first of the above-mentioned aspects, and financial exclusion is often equated with hindered access to banking services, in particular to bank loans and credits. One of the research aspects undertaken in this area are factors that influence the financial exclusion of households, including financial self-exclusion. The research results show that the analyzed phenomenon may be influenced by a number of factors, the most common of which are low level of income, low level of education, lack of permanent employment, unemployment, location of the household in rural areas or in small towns, young age and retirement age. Therefore, people particularly at risk of financial exclusion, as evidenced by the results of research presented in the scientific literature, include primarily unemployment, low-income people, people without permanent employment, inhabitants of rural areas, women, young people, older people, people with low levels of education, immigrants, and people with disabilities. The aim of this research is to identify and assess the socioeconomic characteristics of financially self-excluded households and to identify the reasons for the inactivity of households on the market of financial services and products. The main source of empirical data were the results of a survey conducted among 1,000 households in central Pomerania in Poland. The survey was carried out in the second quarter of 2019 using the direct questionnaire technique. The analysis of the characteristics of financially self-excluded households in relation to the other units included in the analysis was performed using non-parametric statistical tests. In the study, financial self-exclusion was defined as the non-use of financial services and products by the households by their own choice. The study was carried out as a part of the research project Smart Development of Central Pomerania, an innovative approach to creating the competitive advantage of the region, financed by the Minister of Science and Higher Education in Poland under the Dialogue Programme. In order to determine the factors related to the financial self-exclusion of households, a set of 14 socioeconomic characteristics and the corresponding categories were adopted on the basis of the literature review. These variables are presented in Table 1 on the slide. On the basis of answers for the key survey question that was used to collect data on who is financially self-excluded, it was established that financial self-exclusion marked 6% of the surveyed entities. It was also found that more than half of the surveyed households declared using many financial services and products. Barriers in access to financial services and products constitute the main reason for the fact that 4% of the surveyed population made little use of these opportunities, while for 1% of respondents, it was the reason for a complete lack of activity on the market of financial services and products. What causes households to give up the possibility of using financial services and products? In search of an answer to this question, it was first established whether there are differences in the socio-economic characteristics of households that choose to give up activity on the market of financial services and products, and other entities included in the study. For this purpose, the non-parametric tests were used. The results of these calculations are presented in Table 2. Financially self-excluded households were characterized, on average, by older household heads, mean age was 54, than units from the second group included in the analysis, where mean age was 44. Subsequently, it was found that there is a statistically significant difference between the size and composition of financially self-excluded households compared to other units included in the study. Entities which, by their own choice, were not active on the market of financial services and products were characterized, on average, by a lower number of household members, a lower share of paid members, and a lower share of dependent children in the total number of household members. Financially self-excluded households were also characterized by a lower level of education. Nearly 80% of them had a most secondary education. Taking into account the socio-economic type of household, determined on the basis of the main source of income of a given unit, it was found that entities that, by their own choice, did not use financial services and products were primarily households of employees and pensioners. Moreover, nearly 80% of financially self-excluded entities did not diversify their sources of income. Taking the development phase of the household as the classification criterion, it was observed that among financially self-excluded entities, the largest group were households with dependent children, single elderly people, and middle-aged or elderly marriages with no dependent children. Financial self-exclusion concerned mainly rural households and entities located in smaller towns. The next stage of the analysis covered the determination of reasons for financial self-exclusion of the surveyed households. These results are presented in Table 3. Among the surveyed group of households, the main reason for financial self-exclusion was reluctance to use financial services and products. Nearly half of the respondents indicate this reason as important or very important. This was followed by retirement age and preference for using cash. An important cause was also the unfavorable financial situation of the household related to a too low level of income. Among other significant reasons for financial self-exclusion, the respondents also indicate demand factors related to the inability to use financial services and products, such as inability to manage new technologies, lack of access to a computer and mobile devices, lack of access to the internet, lack of knowledge about existing opportunities in the use of financial products, lack of trust in financial institutions, and also fear of losing financial control. A number of supply factors were also indicated. These were mainly product price, availability of products and services, and the conditions that must be met in order to be able to use the product. The aim of this research is to identify and assess the socio-economic characteristics of financially self-excluded households and to identify the reasons for the inactivity of households on the market of financial services and products. The main source of empirical data were the results of a survey conducted among 1,000 households in central Pomerania in Poland. The survey was carried out in the second quarter of 2019 using the direct questionnaire technique. In the study, financial self-exclusion was defined as the non-use of financial services and products by households by their own choice. This feature was noted for 6% of the surveyed households. Main findings confirm the results of research presented in the literature. The conducted research proved that the following types of households are particularly exposed to financial self-exclusion: households from rural areas and small towns, households of the elderly, households with dependent children, entities whose main source of income are pensions, and those whose primary source of income is related to the performed contract work. Moreover, it was found that entities which choose not to use financial services and products do not diversify, for the most part, their sources of income. Financially self-excluded households were on average smaller, with a lower proportion of dependent children and a lower proportion of people who were gainfully employed. The main reason for financial self-exclusion of the surveyed entities was the reluctance to use financial products and the preference to use cash. An important reason was also retirement age and low level of household income. The surveyed households also indicated reasons relating to the inability to use a financial product. These reasons relate to both demand and supply, which confirms the results of empirical research presented in the scientific literature to date. The timeliness and significant importance of the research issues undertaken here justify continuing the research in this area. Further research questions arise, including the direction and force of the impact of individual factors on the financial self-exclusion of households. The search for an answer to this question will constitute the next stage of my research. Thank you very much for your attention.